I'd spend nearly every day out on Anstruther tennis court and just play with whoever was there. I did have one friend called Rona, who's still a dear friend of mine, and we lived on the same street, and we'd go and knock on each other's doors and go, tennis? And I'd go, yeah! And we'd be gone for like 6 hours. Ended up playing a few games, a few district games while I was up here. Got quite into that as well. I think I was second or third pair at school. I think Sarah and Jenny and Tori were all better than me. But I wasn't bad. Again, athletics was my main focus in the summer term. I loved it all.
That concept of getting a tennis racket and the ball and with your mate and just going out wherever.
Whatever the weather. We would be, nobody knew where we were, we'd be on the beach or up at the tennis court, and that was it. There was no other options.
Disorganised sport, as in it's you guys are playing your own thing.
Yeah.
And you're figuring it out.
It's a bit like your five-a-side, and this wasn't a posh club at all. It was in the middle of a park called Banky Park, and there was, I think, 4 courts, little garden shed at the gate, and you didn't really have to book it or anything. You just went up and saw the lad and handed over a quid or whatever, and on you went. You didn't have to be a member, although Rona and I did become members, so that we could play against other people. We loved each other, but every now and again we wanted to play with each other against other people. Just to throw a bit of interest, but we could play for hours and hours, and that was purely for the fun of it. That wasn't for competition.
How important is being able to practice sport with your peer group,
with a pal,
without a coach going X, Y, Z, A, B, C?
Yeah, actually, I hadn't even thought about that, but we're lacking that with hockey, really. Totally lacking that with hockey. And this was with cricket. You can go up with your mate and have a bash in the nets. You only need one other person. I think that is very important. I can't remember. Is there another book you gave me that's about? It speaks to, like, it's a table tennis guy.
Matthew Syed's Bounce.
So I've started reading that one, and they started off. They don't know why, but their parents bought them a table tennis table and put it in their garage, and they thought it was really cool because it was like a tournament one, and this guy had an older brother, and they would just play and play and play for hours, and that's thousands of hours essentially of practice, which some of the other sports perhaps are lacking. And yeah, you bang on there. That's exactly what happened with my tennis. Very rarely got coached. I just practiced all summer long.
Footballers, especially of an older generation, not this generation, would be Johan Cruyff talks about playing in the street and learning how to use the curb as a benefit rather than an obstacle.
Yes. What's that called? Kirby, when you used to play. Is that what it was called?
I'm not sure, but you know.
Oh no, that's a different one when you bounced the ball off the curb and you had to catch it, isn't it?
Maybe.
Aye.
I go to talk to the kids that I've coached hockey, and so do you go play in your garden with your siblings?
Yeah.
Do you go to the park, to the local AstroTurf?
By and large, that answer is no, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is no.
No, but yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah.
No, they don't just. I don't go to the park and see hockey playing kids.
They don't go to the park full stop anymore. They're sat on their PlayStation, Snapchatting each other. It's so depressing from somebody of my quite obviously considerable age that didn't have any of that growing up.
When I first moved to Edinburgh, I used to go to the Meadows, which is the big park, and play a bit of football on the weekends. And I used to see shinty players go down and knock a ball across the park.
Yeah, I remember watching them. I lived by the Meadows. My flat was just at the sort of the Dick Vet end of it. I lived there for 8 years. And there was shinty and there was Irish rules football. It's like a cross between rugby and football. That's really weird, but that was fun to watch. You could just go and sit and watch them as well. Ultimate Frisbee, they used to do a lot of that in the Meadows. I thought they were unique individuals. It's not the way I'd like to spend my afternoon, but you're right, it was shinty as well, yeah. Always worried about the passers-by when that was on.
Little games that kids do for other sports where you adapt to your environment doesn't seem to happen in hockey.
No, and I think that's largely because people are brought up on AstroTurf and they don't think, I'll just go down to the tarmac with my pal. We'll do it on grass instead. Yeah, it won't be as good, but we'll still have a bash. They just don't think that far out of the box. They think that hockey's AstroTurf and that's that. When it doesn't have to be. There's plenty of other. I mean, they could go down to the football turfs at the local high schools. They are everywhere. It's not impossible to play hockey on them. It's not as fast, but it's still practice. They could still make a wee game out of it.
Is hockey too organised? Is hockey too pristine and pretty to we don't need to play? We're not never going to play an 11-a-side international game on grass anymore. But do we need to get our knees dirty and our hands dirty again in order to develop the game further at the actual grassroots level?
Yeah, that's a really, really good way of putting it. And it's all about, it's too pretty. Maybe get some grass leagues back at schools that don't have turfs, or play them on the football turfs that pretty much all the high schools have now. Yeah, that's a really, really interesting way of putting it that I hadn't thought of. Totally.